intention of Natural Freedom League is to expand the understanding of natural law, which is based on objective morality, and to expose the illegitimacy of the belief in authority, and thus the inherent immorality of all government.
We be the Natural Freedom League, cause we become no longer unvegan. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison of prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak up. We be the Natural Freedom League, cause we become no longer unvegan. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison of prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak up. We be the
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Natural Freedom League. We are at naturalfreedomleague.com. I am John Rowland, doing business as John Rowland Wydogen, here with my partner and producer and co-host, Chill Will Keller.
What's up, brother? Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's been a few weeks. And we have a great guest with us tonight, Denise Aguilar. Hello, Denise.
Hi.
Denise has been involved in the health freedom movement. We were just talking about, I know when I got into it, probably the first event I went to was probably like 2017, something like that. After SB 277, starting with the Children's Bill of Rights that Richard Pan was trying to do. That was like the first thing. That was actually one that we won.
Right. A victory in that.
Or we stopped or whatever, we thought we did. But Denise was very active right off the bat. She jumped in, started organizing. You were going by the Informed Mama. I think you still go by that, right?
Yeah, I do. That's the beginning of my social media.
Yeah, why don't you start there and tell us about your journey?
Well, I was never politically involved at all. I was born Mexican and Democrat. And so I never really paid attention to politics until 277. My husband said, we're going to a rally. This is what's going on. We need to start getting involved. So all that fiasco hit. And then I got really angry at the way doctors bully women and they're, at the child visits. And I did a video that went viral, and I was in the parking lot of my doctor's office and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, like, you guys are tripping, this ain't gonna happen here. So that started the journey. And then 276 hit in 2019. And I was pretty much done with the politicians in California. They don't listen. Doesn't matter how many emails we write or how many protests we have at the Capitol. It doesn't matter. And so Tara, myself, and a former partner, Heidi, we stood on chairs at the Capitol and we said, we're not going to comply anymore. We're not going to move. You're going to have to arrest us if you're going to want to get to our children. And so that kicked off the beginning of Freedom Angels. And it just kind of snowballs from there. It's funny how fast things just start going. People are fed up and they're looking for solutions. And we've had 5 years to train between, or a few years to train between 277 and 276 to understand how the system worked. And so we just, like I said, it started snowballing. We were involved in the strategy to beat 276. And when Gavin Newsom signed that bill into law, he said, this is much bigger than me. I have to sign it. And so that snowballed into all the other projects that I have going on right now. But it's really been interesting. Never thought I'd find myself in this position.
That's awesome. Once you step into your power and you realize how powerful you are, and non-compliance is definitely the answer. So it's good that you had that inertia, that starting point, and then you just keep the momentum going.
Oh yeah, I never felt more free than the day we stood on those chairs. They were harassing us, they were threatening us. They really did not want us to bring attention to this issue. And we were just like, no, move us. Like I am not scared to get arrested for doing the righteous thing, you know, like I can't be threatened. So that was just, the moment you stop complying is the moment you're free.
There you go. Yeah, the most powerful word, right? No.
It's all it
Love it.
takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone over this a few times on this podcast just because the health freedom movement was my introduction really to activism and, you know, getting out and, you know, trying to like interact with the public and educate the public, because that's a huge piece of it. And then like we said earlier, I could see how the system just wasn't built to listen to us. Like I remember in the beginning, we'd get letters from, I think at that time it was Parents United for Kids. It was A Voice for Choice, right? And those both, I really respected them, the groups, like what they were doing. You had Learn the Risk, who was again more of the educational piece. I mean, Brandy did a little bit of, she had some packets and stuff, I remember, for SB 276, but she was more about educating the public. And I just remember like they would send us emails and say, email your senator and you can, here's what you can say, and you can say this, and I would do all those things and call them. And then we had the one hearing where we had, I don't know, what was it, like 4,000, 5,000 people in the hallways.
Yep.
Wrapped around the hallways in that building. It took us like 5 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours.
Walls.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
and they still were just like, passed it through. And then I remember that when you guys kind of formed into the Freedom Angels, that was like the first step into like a bit of civil disobedience.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of like sounded the call for us that like it was on a new level, right?
It was. We knew, look, Tara and I were sitting at the chairs, and we know it's going to pass. You know, we're like, we can't walk out of here with our tail between our legs. Like if your listeners don't know who I am from Stockton, California, where we are like, we're different out here, you know, and a little bit of hood out here. And so I'm like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to walk out of here with our tail between our legs. We're going to make sure we send them a clear message. And that was the kickoff of civil disobedience. You know, you don't need violence to do this and push back. You need nonviolent civil noncompliance. And you stand there in your power and we're like, no, you're not gonna, you know, the day that you're talking about, we had mothers and men and women pounding on the walls of the Capitol, kicking the walls. I mean, they had blood on their hands from hitting the walls so hard. Tara and I are knocking on Gavin Newsom's door and we're kicking it. We're telling him, open the door. And we were ready to just not leave. I mean, we called for that 11-day occupy for a reason, because it is time for noncompliance. And the only way that they listen is when they're uncomfortable. We saw that through 2020, you know, all the riots and things, and they allowed these things to happen. But now, you know, it did open the eyes to many people across the nation that you can say no, and you can stand your ground and hold the line without fearing them anymore. I'm not scared of my government. So, you know, I think that's the real big piece. We have to stop being so scared. And really, this is the biggest game of chicken that we've ever seen.
That's a really good point, because that's what government uses is fear tactics and scared tactics. You know, I think the majority of people are just scared of their government, right? They're scared of the IRS or, you know, the men in black knocking on their door. In reality, they bluff the majority of the time and they're cowards. So, you know, the first step is realizing that the system's always working against you, and obviously recognizing your value and your self-worth.
Yeah, you know, I'm not anti-government. I'm ashamed of my government. And I'm not, you know, this extremist that the media wants to paint me as. They paint me as an extremist and as a racist. And it's mind-boggling that these kinds of narratives are actually believed. It's just really weird. But Yeah, during 276, we changed mothers to the Capitol doors. We, on both sides of the Capitol, nobody in, nobody out. We had women locking arms over the driveway, nobody in and nobody out. The representatives were so comfortable with being so disrespectful to the families of vaccine injured children. Before 276, we were going, or before the final end of 276, the representatives and their aides would like pass by the kids and laugh at them. One kid got spit on, and it was just like we were peasants, peasants. And during the time, like when we were there and we occupied, nobody was spitting on anybody. They had to walk through the gauntlet, and we were letting them have it. We're tired of it. And the attack on our children, that just poked a bear that we told them not to poke. And it's here. And now you see the women are fierce right now and standing on the front lines of saying, you can't have my kids.
Yeah, we need those mama bears come out full force.
So when Gavin said that it's bigger than him, I'm wondering if he, was foreshadowing what was to come, because I know that when COVID hit for me, where I was mentally, I was just like, this is it, like I kind of felt like it was directed at anti-vaxxers, which in a way it is, I mean, I think like to a certain extent, they built the narrative on purpose because they knew what was coming and they needed the divide to already kind of be there. And so what I'd like to know are your thoughts on, since 2020, since COVID, since they passed all that stuff anyway, and despite all of the great things that you guys did and all the people that got out there and did civil disobedience, that how have your views evolved and how have the approaches evolved from, instead of going to the Capitol and rallying, it feels like we've redirected to a more local approach?
Yeah. Once we hit, when 276 passed, and then quickly after that passed, we had AB 262 passed, which gave the public health officer the ability to do whatever they wanted. And so we saw the narrative of them calling us a public health threat. That happened way before, the COVID hit. So yes, it's always been the narrative to make us the threats if we question pharma. So as that happened, many hats started popping off. We have to have, there's many different layers of this fight. It's a very well-oiled machine. And so you have to attack it from different angles. So while I'm still political, and we realized going to the Capitol doesn't mean anything. You have to fight locally. Localism, your board of supervisors, city council, your sheriff, your school board members, they all live in your community. And they really don't like to face you if they live in your community. These are people we vote in, we know who they are, we know who their families are. And we know that the power of local government, I think that was been lost in, the lack of teaching civics in school on how government actually works and the way that it was created. So while we are working locally, we have many groups that have popped off around the counties that do focus on political activism in their local government. I've also kind of realized I can't fight the system if I'm still in it. Like if my kids are still in school, I can't fight the mask mandates, I can't fight the vaccine mandates, because I would still be sending my son to school in mask and on a site that has clinics without me on campus. So I realized we do still need to fight that. We do still need to be able to navigate that terrain. But I also started an organization called Mom Militia because I am very, I would rather be ready than having to get ready. And so Mom Militia formed out of 276 passing, because we're like, shoot, now we gotta do something else. We have to create another way. We can't rely on public school systems. So we have to create homeschool pods. We can't rely on the police to protect us right now, because during 2020 and 2021, I was arrested for just standing at the Capitol. So they weren't on our side. You know, there was police officers that weren't, and they were. So in all that, in all the, you know, civil unrest, this organization is a women's only global organization now that trains each other on specific skills. So we learn how to do, you know, how to properly handle firearms, how to use bow and arrow, how to fish, how to hunt. Basically, it's like Girl Scouts meets 1776 meets, you know, all of it. We're basically starting over because the society that does not want us, we don't want it either. So it's just it's a group of women that are really the most baddest women I've ever met too. They're not going to move. They're not going to buckle. They're like, we're going to create something else. So I have kind of given up right now on our current politicians. I don't think that, I think we need to break up from them for a little bit. You know, like over it.
Yeah. For sure. That's awesome. You guys, you know, sticking to the real virtues and the intrinsic values of life skills. And I think government they have a monopoly on this, on just services and education that the average person nowadays doesn't have, whether it be self-defense or, you know, providing food for yourself, or even homeschooling. I think that's one of the biggest ones. And so that's fantastic. You guys are doing that.
Yeah, it's really funny because when we first came out, we have a picture of all of us, the women. We started off with like 12 women in January, just barely enough to make. We were like, we could do like a year calendar and try to raise, you know, awareness that it's okay for women to have firearms. So we're all, you know, the cover of this picture, we're all holding our ARs and, you know, all these things. And the media lost their mind. They went crazy. Sacramento Bee, Washington Post, LA Times, all these like, you know, indoctrination papers. They called us terrorists. They said that we were white supremacist terrorists, privileged women who are anti-vaxxers. And I'm like, you know, I don't ask what medical medical procedures my members go through. It's not an anti-vax movement. It's I don't trust and I can't depend on anybody else other than myself and my family to protect us, to feed us. One of the really great things that we do is we train with our children because we're moms, you know, we're going to have our kids all the time. So we taught them how this last lesson was how to hunt, so how to kill rabbits and use every piece of them, because we want to make sure we're honoring the animal, right? We don't want to kill these animals and then just leave it. So my son learned how to properly kill a rabbit, how to clean it, how to cook it, how to use all the other things with it, you know, to make like moccasins and things like that. So it's a really good organization. I love it. It went global very quickly because the women are done. They want to create something else.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really think women are the key to global awakening, because usually the men follow suit, right? And a woman's intuition and foresight is extremely strong. So as soon as you activate that divine feminine, the ripple effect that it creates throughout the world or even in your local community is impactful.
Oh, yeah.
I
It's
love
funny you
hearing
say
this.
that. I have a meme of our organization. It says, the divine feminine has awakened. It says, AKA Mama's home. And it's very true. You know, men and women move differently. So you have men in the militias who are, you know, protecting and doing that. But we move very differently than men, and men are there for defense and to get us where we need to go. But the attacks that come from what government's doing right now is to our children. And so naturally that mother instinct is going to come out, and they poked a bear, and we kept telling them, we're going to destroy your system. And that's the plan right now. I hope that every parent homeschools their children. And I hope that mothers understand and realize to question the system that made you question your ability to teach your children. Because a lot of people are like, I don't know how to homeschool. Like, do you know how to read? Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to do, life skills? Then you know how to homeschool.
Yeah.
I have an image of the divine feminine with, a woman grasping her kid, holding her kid, and her kid's got books and she's got an AR. That's a real divine feminine activated for sure.
That's a good one. Can I use
'Cause
that?
everyone's got, yeah, go for it. Everyone's got misconceptions on what the divine feminine is. Like, it's real woo woo new agey, and that right there represents the true female.
It is. We just want to be left alone to raise our children and protect our families. That's it. We don't need intrusion the way that these mandates and these passports and all these things, they don't belong on American soil, and we're not going to participate in it. Even if it means we have to live in a tent at this point.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. We have a concept that the term we used is detachment activism. And it was something that I was like studying Buddhism for a while. And, Buddhism is a lot about letting go of your attachments, that those are the things that weigh you down in life. And I was like applying it to what we were doing. Like, well, what if we all pulled out of the healthcare system? Like screw them. Like, and people always say, oh, well, if you don't, get vaccinated, whatever, then, don't go to the ER or whatever. I'm like, I don't want to go to the ER. I'm like,
I don't anyway.
Seriously, like, that's like the last, I'm going to have to be like on my deathbed to like even end up back at a hospital, at this point.
People die in the ER, right?
Oh man. It's like, that's where people go to get sick, it's like, people don't realize that. And it's, I see it so much with my family members. They're always going for checkups and stuff. It's like, you can't get cancer if you don't get diagnosed.
Right?
It's like, then they start radiating you and like telling you it's making it better and it's probably increasing it,
I know. I just want to opt out of the whole thing. I won't participate in it. I just won't. I'm not going to go to an allopathic doctor because I don't trust it. I'm not going to go and send my youngest son to school because I don't trust it. So I'm not going to compromise what I feel. I'm not going to compromise what my husband feels. He's putting it all on the line because he's not going to comply with the mandates. And so we're looking at, he's going to lose his job. I'm unhireable. Like, people will, if you Google me, there's no way they'll hire me. So it's, us trying to figure out something else and another way. And it's up to everybody, no matter how uncomfortable it gets, because it gets uncomfortable. You got to hold that line. You can't compromise. I don't negotiate with these people. None of my information is up for barter. So I'm just hoping that people do find their inner Cesar Chavez almost, and boycott and go in the streets and opt out, pull their children out, and really look into protecting them. Because right now, all of these entities, especially schools, are so dangerous for kids right now. There's just no way that I would be able to send my youngest. Now, I have a middle son who does go to public school because of custody, but I put the living fear of God in him. If you touch my son, come after everybody. I will go every single route that I can possibly go to make sure you're held accountable for what they did. So it's, I just can't believe we're here already. Kind of came fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, it's gotta be a new state of mind that needs to be kind of recognized and accepted, right? It's a shift in consciousness where we're opting out. We don't want this faulty, immoral system. So we have to create our own and a new one, and with morality and principles first. And this is why community is so important, so we can support each other through this transition, because that's what it is. They're creating this divide in society. So education is where it's at.
Oh yeah, we're looking at another great segregation, and you have to just pick a side. There at this point, there's no more teeter-tottering. I'm just going to, put an exemption on file and hope that it works. It may work for a little bit, but I'm not participating in that. I don't need anybody's permission to opt out of a medical procedure. I don't need anybody's, a permission to be a free human. They can't take my freedom. It's not up for them to take. So, we'll see how this goes. Hopefully people will sign up for Mom Militia and create something else, another way of life, another community, and rebuild all the systems that failed us: healthcare, education, finances, all of it.
Yeah, excellent.
One thing that comes up when we get out and talk to people is the idea that a lot of these things that we think of as rights are actually privileges, and you realize that that's what they use to hold over us, right? So a lot of people will be like, well, I love traveling, I love flying. It's like that's actually kind of something that they've monopolized, and then now they can take it away, right? And there's a lot of things in society that are like that, and you realize I don't actually need that thing. Like if we did go back 100 years, right? Like there was no one flying everywhere, people were fine, they lived in their communities. And so now we've got this new thing, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have the right to use that technology. It's just that the system that's been built around it is corrupt and is taking advantage of us and is using it as dangling the carrot in front of us. And so you have to kind of delineate between what's a right and what's a privilege. And we may have to give up those things for a period of time and rebuild them. And I know that your partner Tara is I've seen that she's involved in an alternative airline opportunity.
Yeah, Freedom Air Alliance. They are everybody's kind of figuring out what kind of pieces they can bring to the puzzle, and Tara is fantastic with her strategy. So she's worked with Kevin Jenkins and Susan Sweeten to create another way to fly. And, it's awesome, and you're right. We have a world of convenience right now. And so it's easy to want these things, right? They're quick, they're fast, and it's fun, but we have to reset our entire lives, our entire frame of mind at this point. It is a great reset. And we're either looking at slavery or freedom. And I'm not participating in that because we'll never be able to get out of it. I mean, we're looking at things like transhumanism is it's just the goal, let's just live in this kind of AI society to where all of the sci-fi movies that I've ever watched are actually real. Like they were telling us something, and I would much rather start over and do the Little House on the Prairie and just create something that is free.
Yeah. You nailed it too. That's what the great divide is: freedom or slavery. And that's what people need to understand, is that people are being violated. So this is the time to speak out, and bluntly and without the euphemisms.
I'm pretty blunt.
Yeah.
That's my job.
That's a good quality to have nowadays.
They banned me very quickly, and I had to take over my poor husband's social media accounts because they won't let me. They do these weird biometrics on my face when I try to sign in for Facebook.
We have to be careful what we title this. I don't really care. I mean, YouTube, whatever. But we did an interview with Mike Mattingly and Wendell.
Yeah.
Wendell, yeah. And we called it the harbingers of public health tyranny.
Oh, probably not.
YouTube was like, nah, they didn't let us put it up, so we got a little
live for maybe 2 minutes. So we'll title this one dancing fluffy cats or something.
Cats,
exactly.
Dogs. It's censored. I mean, it's censorship. No matter how you cut it, private businesses, blah blah blah. No, it's not. It's censorship. For years we've been saying, it's coming. Something's coming. The agenda's coming. It's here. Like, it's not coming, it's here already. We're just going to have to learn to maneuver it. And we have such brilliant people in this movement that have had time to train themselves to figure out what they can do. And I've met people who, are creating their own cell towers and their own way of communication. And, it's pretty brilliant when you push humans to a certain point, how we'll get together and we'll bring each other in a little closer and, brainstorm and figure things out. They really count on us to hate each other and to fight with each other. But the moment we start finding tribes and connecting and, becoming on just a higher kind of energy, just your whole world changes. I'm not involved in the negative part of this movement, if that makes sense. Like, I've worked with the politicians, I've seen the corruption, I've seen the backdoor deals, but I've shifted in a place to where, yeah, I want to fix that, but I'm also creating this space over here to where I'm not going to deal with them anymore. I'm dealing with these women and their families who are dedicating time to create all the things that we need for another society, really. So it's a higher vibration. I'm not even worried about any of these policies, these mandates. They have no power over me. So I think that kind of really irritates them.
Yeah, because that's what they're propagating nonstop is fear. And that's where they want people to be in the vibration of fear. And when you're in fear, you look at everyone and they're the enemy, they're out to get you, and you do crazy shit. So, but when you step into love, that creative essence that motivates you, it's powerful.
Changes everything.
Oh yeah.
It's at the beginning of this, I think, like, maybe when all this started, I was maybe 2 weeks into, the shutdown. And I'm like, this doesn't seem right. There is something that stinks about this. And Tara and I are talking and we're like, man, is this AB 262 going into play? Is this that fast? It was literally like 2 months when the bill passed. And then we started seeing the public health officers doing this. And we're like, this is it. Like, it's landed. We need to regroup. And that's the really great thing about Tara is she's so smart. And, when we're seeing these bumps and we sit back and we talk to each other about the strategy of this, we're looking at it. Have you ever seen that meme of the whiteboard and the guy like drawing lines on it with red, that's us. We're like, okay, this is happening. Let's put this together. We knew that this was going to happen already. Many of us in Health Freedom saw this from a mile away, and we're like, this is all right. The battle is here. And so, we work really hard to get people involved locally. People have to see the tyranny before they move, right? Because unless you're uncomfortable, you're not moving. You're just like, oh, it doesn't affect me. It's no big deal. And that's what we saw during 277 and 276. People thought it didn't affect them because it was labeled an anti-vax bill. If they would have known exactly what this bill was, then, a couple days ago, we had thousands of parents at the Capitol, pulling the kids out of school. Okay, now what though? No, I love that. I love that people are waking up, but there needs to be direction to, now you pull those kids out of school. You crumble the system. You destroy it from the inside out. Sorry, I have a chihuahua. And, I want parents to know that power that they have. They don't have to give their children to anybody. They don't have to comply with any of these things. And they don't have to ask the schools to unmask their kids. They're the ones sending their kids to school in masks.
Yep.
And even though as harsh as that sounds, it's reality. You can't fight this and say, okay, now put your mask on and go to school and let's hope they're being nice to you and you don't have to take it off.
Yeah.
It's, we have to destroy it.
Yep.
Yeah, can you touch on some of the recent successes in your local county? I saw you posting a bit about it today. How's that going?
It's great. So we started San Joaquin County Liberty Coalition, and it's a group of really just people who are ready to go. You know, they're kind of fed up. So we brought them into the Freedom Angels United Counties of America strategy, to where we work local, and we had success here. So in San Joaquin County, we have a really good board of supervisor. Actually, we have 4 good ones. The chair is Tom Patty. He has passed 2 resolutions for our county. One is mass choice for children in school, so parents can decide if they want to do it or not. And the second one was the ban on vaccine passports. They are really trying to fight this to make sure that, you know, that the state of California, that Gavin Newsom knows that San Joaquin County is not going to participate in this. They are also suing California Department of Public Health for the data to prove that we're in a public health emergency. So we've been able to put town halls together with our supervisors, something that, you know, we've been asking for 2 years, and now they're fed up and they are looking to move legally against the state of California. So San Joaquin County has been a really good county. I think it's been one of the best counties in Northern California, to be honest. We did not have a mandate. I've never had a problem in Stockton about masks. I don't wear them. I think I got kicked out of Chevron, and my Baskin Robbins trying to call the cops on my husband. But other than that, it's been pretty lenient. And so what the resolution is that no county office can require that you show a vaccine passport, and this includes the county hospital. So it was a really good win. We're still working with the Board of Supervisors and some city council members to protect the county. Gavin Newsom loves San Joaquin County. We are like the hub we have a very large population of Hispanics and a very large population of Blacks. And that is the voting central for what these people want. So he's had his eye on us, and super grateful that the BOS sent a really strong message, and they just told them, we're not going to comply with you guys. We're not going to use OSHA and the strong arm of all these alphabet agencies to harass businesses. We're just not. So we'll see what Gavin says.
Yeah, I hope you guys have some success with that. I mean, you know, like I said, I don't have a lot of faith in government, but I appreciate that people are still making an effort. And I think it's important to know different approaches, because, you know, like we've been following pretty closely what they're doing in Santa Cruz. They're taking like a lot of legal steps against different law enforcement agencies and people that are violating their rights, and they're starting to see people step down. But it's interesting because it's like, what happens then? You know, like it's the system is just so adaptable. You know, they replace people, and maybe you can sue the person in their private capacity, but again, it's an approach, and it seems like there's a lot of different approaches. And so I guess what would be good is to know where people can reach you, and where we can kind of learn a little bit deeper about what it is you're doing and the approaches that you guys have taken.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I have no faith in these politicians. My goal is to hold their feet to the fire, right? You're not going to get away from me. You're not going to be comfortable in my silence ever again. One thing about me is I'm an organizer. I will, for some odd reason, people like me sometimes, but I'm an organizer. And so if anything, it's not I don't feel like the BOS is going to save our county and that they're going to come in with these capes. It's making sure they know we are watching them now. We have spent years not watching. We have spent years just voting people in and just thinking they can police themselves. And now we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to hold your feet to the fire. We're going to let everybody know what you're doing. We showed up at the public health officers' houses because you're making us uncomfortable. You're not opening your doors or your meetings to the public, and you're working from home. Now your home's considered your office, and now I'm coming to your house. So, you know, it's not so much me having faith in them. It's me telling them, like, you're not going to get rid of us anymore. Like, you can't walk down the street ever again without being told what exactly you are. So I just want to say that part.
Yeah.
Yes, you can find us at freedom-angels.org. There we have a bunch of links to resolutions that you can copy for your county and just edit for your space. Information on homeschooling, on private domains. So we're working within the private domain with private membership associations. And so we show people how they can do that and move out of the public domain so they're no longer having to listen to the state. And so you can get those downloads there. We also have liberatesjc.com, and that is, we have a modern day green book. Businesses that will not participate in the passport are listed on our website. And so you go and you spend your dollars there. And we also have a naughty list, so you don't spend your money there. And then Mom Militia, YouTube won't let me say it out loud. So it's Mom Militia, DOTCOM. You'll get
Nice.
flagged.
Yeah. We'll put all the links in the description and
You can't link it. Don't link
don't link it.
and because you get flagged.
Got it. Well, we use multiple platforms as well,
Okay,
so
good.
Yeah.
we'll do a little duck and dodge. So, that's fantastic. You called it the Green Book.
Yes.
So that's really important. I mean, all the information that you ladies have is fantastic, but it's important to, if you're going to spend money, spend it at a business where, they're not supporting tyranny and slavery.
Yep. That's the hope. Create something else. And so they have our signs on their doors and they're on our list. And, we're going to vote with their dollar. I'm not going to play their game anymore.
Yeah. Well, Denise, we appreciate what you do. And I'm glad we finally got you on to highlight your work and to get it out to our audience and maybe some more people in the natural law movement. Maybe hopefully other people will hit you up and bring you on their shows too, because we know a lot of people who have like little podcasts and stuff like that. So but yeah, we appreciate what you do. Keep doing it. You're inspiring, and thank you for that.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here. It was fun.
Yeah.
Very often.
That's awesome.
Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you, Will.
Thanks, John.
And always remember, put something good in the air and plant something good in the earth. Peace.
Bye.
We be the natural freedom league, cause we become no longer unbegun. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison of prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak up. We be the natural freedom league, cause we become no longer unbegun. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison of prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak up. We be the